Huawei is very dangerous.
Rarely does a country go to war with a private company.
We have met the enemy, and it is Huawei.
We're not going to do business with Huawei.
Huawei represents a national security risk.
But is this really about Huawei? Or is it something bigger than that?
Imagine you're deep in the Yellowstone wilderness, miles from the nearest cell tower. Your hiking partner takes a bad fall, breaking their ankle. In the past, you'd be completely cut off from help, but pull out the new Huawei Mate 70 and within seconds, you're sending emergency messages through a satellite network 550 kilometers above your head. This isn't science fiction. This is happening right now. In November 2024, Huawei unveiled something that defied the laws of physics, at least according to stunned engineers at Apple and Qualcomm. A smartphone that can message satellites directly from your pocket. No special equipment needed, no bulky antenna, no extra hardware, just a regular-looking phone that works literally anywhere on Earth. While American tech giants were fighting over 5G coverage maps, China quietly orchestrated one of the most ambitious telecommunications projects in history. They launched 15 advanced satellites into precise orbits. They built a massive ground station network spanning 3,000 kilometers. And somehow, they managed to pack all that connectivity into a device that slides into your back pocket. When Richard Yu, Huawei's consumer chief, unveiled the Mate 70 in Shenzhen, he called it their most powerful phone ever, but that vastly understates what this device represents. This isn't just another smartphone, it's a complete reimagining of how humans communicate across the planet. The technology packed inside the Mate 70 reads like classified military research. Huawei's engineers developed a revolutionary power amplifier chip that can boost a tiny smartphone signal strong enough to reach satellites moving at a mind-bending 27,000 kilometers per hour. They created an antenna system that tracks these satellites in real time, maintaining rock-solid connections even as they zip across the sky. The whole system operates with just 0.7 seconds of delay, faster than many regular international phone calls. But the true genius wasn't just in the hardware innovation, it was in the timing and strategy. While the United States was trying to crush Huawei with export controls and tech bans, the company was secretly building an entirely new communication infrastructure. Blocked from buying American chips, they built their own. Banned from using Google's Android, they created Harmony OS Next, a completely independent operating system that already supports 15,000 applications. The sanctions didn't stop Huawei. They accelerated its transformation. The numbers tell a stunning comeback story. In the third quarter of 2024, while still under crushing US sanctions, Huawei shipped over 10 million smartphones in China alone, climbing back to become the country's second largest phone manufacturer. The Mate 60 Pro, which first pioneered the satellite calling technology, became such a symbol of national technological pride that Chinese consumers lined up for hours to buy one. This wasn't just about buying a phone. It was about proving that American pressure couldn't stop Chinese innovation. The implications are staggering. Think about traditional cellular networks. They require massive infrastructure investments, cell towers every few miles, endless miles of fiber optic cables, power systems, maintenance crews. In rural Africa, telecom companies spend millions trying to connect single villages. In Alaska, whole communities go without reliable service because building towers is too expensive. Huawei just made that entire model obsolete. One satellite can cover an area the size of Texas. A constellation of them can blanket the entire planet. But this is bigger than just Huawei. China's Tiannong satellite network, originally built for government and military use, has now opened up for civilian applications. China Telecom's Tandy Wing Card service allows any compatible phone to connect to satellites for voice calls and data. The infrastructure is already in orbit, silently waiting for millions of users to come online. And here's where it gets truly unsettling for Western competitors. The contrast with American efforts is stark and telling. SpaceX's Starlink satellite internet requires a pizza box-sized antenna and external power. Apple's emergency SOS can only send basic texts via satellite in specific emergency situations and only in certain countries. Huawei's solution works everywhere, all the time, for any purpose, with just the phone itself. No compromises, no limitations, no excuses. This technological leap comes at a crucial moment in history. Natural disasters are becoming more frequent and severe. Remote work is pushing people farther from urban centers. Traditional cellular networks are struggling to keep up with demand while facing massive upgrade costs. Huawei just offered the world a way to bypass all these problems entirely. And the proof isn't just theoretical. Reuters correspondents successfully sent high-resolution photos through the Mate 70's satellite connection from the middle of the Gobi Desert. Maritime shipping companies report crews maintaining constant contact with family throughout Pacific crossings. Most remarkably, rescue teams in Sichuan province use the technology to coordinate earthquake relief in areas where traditional networks were completely destroyed. When cellular infrastructure collapses, Huawei's satellites keep working. In March 2025, during devastating floods in Southeast Asia, Huawei's satellite network proved invaluable. When cellular towers were underwater and power lines down, rescue teams used Mate 70 phones to coordinate evacuations, direct relief supplies, and even guide helicopter rescues. The Chinese government wasted no time highlighting how their technology was saving lives while Western solutions remained earthbound. The geopolitical earthquake has already begun. In early December 2024, telecommunications ministers from 7 African nations flew to Beijing for closed-door meetings with Huawei executives. The topic? How satellite-enabled phones could help them leapfrog decades of infrastructure challenges. Nigeria alone needs 120,000 additional cell towers to achieve full coverage, a $40 billion investment. Or they could simply adopt Huawei's satellite technology and cover their entire nation from space. Consider the raw economics. Verizon spent $45 billion just on 5G spectrum licenses. AT&T invested another $23 billion in infrastructure upgrades. Together, American carriers have poured over $100 billion into traditional networks that may soon be obsolete. Meanwhile, Huawei's entire satellite constellation cost an estimated $8 billion to deploy. The math is devastating. China achieved global coverage for less than what America spent on partial 5G rollout in major cities. In February 2025, Kenya announced it would partner with Huawei to provide nationwide satellite coverage instead of building out traditional cellular networks. The estimated savings? Over $12 billion in infrastructure costs. A dozen other African nations are now considering similar moves. The developing world isn't just catching up to the West anymore. They're leapfrogging entirely. The economic ripples are already reshaping global markets. Traditional telecom stocks plunged on fears their massive infrastructure investments could become stranded assets. Satellite component manufacturers saw their valuations soar. Most tellingly, Chinese semiconductor companies like SemiIC, which produces the advanced chips powering these devices, attracted record foreign investment despite ongoing U.S. restrictions. The strategic implications of Huawei's breakthrough extend far beyond consumer convenience. In January 2025, Pentagon officials held emergency sessions to discuss a sobering reality. American military communications could potentially be outflanked by Chinese satellite networks. The U.S. Space Force is racing to catch up, but internal assessments suggest they're at least 5 years behind China's capabilities. 5 years in technology might as well be a century. The technology's military applications are equally profound. Traditional military communications require vulnerable ground stations or bulky satellite phones. A pocket-sized device that can securely communicate from anywhere represents a quantum leap in battlefield coordination. It's no coincidence that defense contractors worldwide are scrambling to understand how Huawei achieved this breakthrough. That ecosystem now includes China's Beidou navigation system, with 45 satellites providing positioning accuracy that rivals GPS. When paired with Huawei's communication satellites, it creates a closed-loop system completely free from Western control or interference. Messages are end-to-end encrypted and bypass traditional infrastructure entirely, making them nearly impossible to intercept or jam. China just built a parallel telecommunications universe. The innovation has sparked a technological arms race. Apple reportedly reassigned hundreds of engineers to their satellite communications division. Google fast-tracked Project Loon's successor, but they're all playing catch-up to a system that's already operational and battle-tested. The innovation extends beyond just phones. Huawei is developing satellite-enabled tablets, laptops, and even cars that can maintain constant connectivity anywhere on Earth. Early tests show the technology can support streaming video calls from ships in the middle of the Pacific and real-time data transmission from Arctic research stations. Here's what nobody in Washington wants to admit. The attempts to crush Huawei didn't just fail, they backfired spectacularly. By cutting off Huawei's access to American technology, the US forced China to build something better, something independent, something the West can't control or shut down. The sanctions created exactly what they were supposed to prevent, a Chinese tech giant that doesn't need America at all. So the question isn't whether Huawei's satellite technology will change the world. It already has. The question is, what happens when billions of people realize they don't need traditional cellular networks anymore? What happens when developing nations skip the entire infrastructure phase the West took decades to build? What happens when China controls the communication backbone that connects half the planet? The future of global communications isn't being built in Silicon Valley anymore. It's orbiting 550 kilometers above your head right now. What do you think? Will satellite technology really make cell towers obsolete? Or is there something we're missing? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the technologies reshaping our world.